So yeah, the start of the second term can be tough while that is happening. And then you will have mocks. Will you all have mocks this term at the end of this term? Where's my party hat emoji? Here it is. Yes. Okay. All right. So our goal for today is to finish all the dialogue, which we did most of last week, right? And then also situations, right? I want to do the situations from January 2024 paper 2. I think we might get through 5 of them because at the same time we're doing it, I want to revise some grammar structures. And then I want to start a letter from January 2024 paper 2, right? Okay, now if I recall correctly, check back your notes, but we finished this piece, right? We talked about why it was a challenge. We gave reasons for that. Yes, so it's just the last piece on the last page here, right? So just 2 more things she needs to wrap up. All right, so we say, the interviewer says, esto pasa a veces cuando el sonido no es bueno. Háblame de lo que ocurrió cuando saliste al escenario el día de la competencia. All right, so what happened? Lo que ocurrió, right? When you came out on stage on the day of the competition. Right? Here's another way to say competition, la competencia. We've been saying concurso, right? But this is another way. So what do you think happened? Look down here. The response is fantástico. El público te adoraba. So the public adored you. Entonces, ¿cómo te sentiste al oír que habías ganado? How did you feel when you heard that you won? So we're dealing with this part here to help us shape this, right? So we have to say a response where the public loved her. Okay? You can tell me in English, think about it in English. She came out on stage and what do you think happened? How might she have felt at first? And then what would have happened as she performed? And then what could have happened after? So she might have felt nervous at first, right? When she comes on stage, she might have felt nervous. And then gradually she would have started singing and maybe the nerves would have gone away. And then the crowd would have been like, yeah, good job. Yeah, you're our favorite. Yeah. All right, so let's put this in English. How do we say she felt nervous or she was nervous? She was nervous. Nerviosa for nervous, right? So estar, in her case, because she's feminine, nerviosa, right? To be nervous. Right? So estaba, I was nerviosa. And if you know an idiomatic expression for in that moment or at first, you could say it, right? So I don't know, in aquel momento, we could say in that moment, right? Because it's further away now. Right? Also in este momento might work because she's remembering it, right? Pero, all right, I began to sing. So comenzar, empezar, to begin. How would I say I began? How do I put this in present tense? It has to be present tense. It's a single completed action. You can only begin something once, right? So I began. What are my present endings? A, hasta, o, hemos, and for AR verbs. All right, so empecé or comencé. And we looked at the group of verbs that she has a spelling change, didn't we? A cantar. Y, and then you could put in whatever you know. It was magnificent, or I felt better, or I felt more secure. I felt me senti happy, right? Excited. I'm gonna put like more secure, so más segura. But what else could we say? Contenta. We could say I had more confidence. We could say tenía más confianza, right? If there's anything else you want to say, you could tell me, right? And I enjoyed myself a lot. Me divertí mucho. Right? So we have divertirse, to enjoy oneself. We must know this and we must know how to conjugate it. We have disfrutar, if you would rather not have one that is reflexive. ¿Cómo te sentiste al oír que habías ganado? How did you feel on hearing that you had won? ¿Qué hiciste? How do you think she felt? You could say, I felt, what is someone's, incredible. You could say it was incredible. It was magnificent. It was amazing. It was very exciting. I was very excited. Okay, she didn't expect to win, sure. All right, what's a verb you know for that conveys the idea of feeling shocked or feeling surprised? What's the verb for to be surprised? Sorprender. Well, to surprise is sorprender, right? So to be surprised, you would have to say it surprised me. Okay, so you could say me sorprendió. There's also asustar, if you know that verb. Asustar, say to be shocked, right? I think the connotation though there is a little negative, so I prefer sorprender, right? What did we do after? And if you wanted to say, I had never imagined I would win, what could we, how would we say that? It's not as hard as it sounds. So how would we say I imagined? Imaginar is to imagine. Maybe I should have led with that, right? So imagine, right? This is I imagined. And then never would be nunca. So we put that in front. Nunca imaginé que, and we just revised conditional tense. So what is I would win? Ganar is to win. So what ending do we put on it? For the yo form, we put I accent A, right? Ganaria. Great, yes. All right, so I never imagined I would win. And the next thing we have to answer is, what did you do? ¿Qué hiciste? So you could, what would you do? You could start to cry. You could go and look for your friends, your family. Use words that you know. Right? So if you want to say, what is to look for? Buscar, right? So how do we say I looked for my family immediately? Right, buscar is to look for. So if I'm saying I looked for, right? Bus QUE accent, right? Because buscar, if I said BUSCE accent, this is one of the verbs where the sound would become, it would be like busque, but we need a k sound. So we change this to a Q and we put in a U, right? Busque. So busque a mi familia inmediatamente. All right. Grammar check. Why do I have to put in an A here? What A is this? Because buscar already means to look for. So that A is not to convey for. What is it to convey? Okay, so this is a personal A, right? When people are the object of the sentence, they an A preserves them. Precedes them. Lord, not preserves them. They're not so prudes, right? So use A before people as a direct object in a sentence, right? Right, and this brings us to the end of our dialogue. Yo me sentiría igual, I would felt the same. Pues gracias, Luisa. Y otra vez, and again, my congratulations. Good. All right. Your friends want you to go somewhere after school, but you need to ask your parents' permission. Write a text you send to your father asking for permission and promising to do something if you are allowed to go. All right, so what we need to know, what do we need to know here? How we ask for permission. and how we express a promise. Right? All right. So how do we, in English, what would we say? What would you say to your parents if you're asking them for permission to go somewhere after school? In English, what would you say to your parents? Can I go out with my friends after school? Very straightforward. All right. So what is the verb for to can, to be able to? Go there. And that is all it is. So you could say directly, puedo ir, or puedo no, no, no. What is to go out? Not ir. We could say ir like ir al centro comercial or ir al café. But what is to go out? Choose a cheerful color here. Blue. Right. Salir, great. So puedo salir. And you could start if you want to be fancy. I always find answers where students say papa or mama, whomever they are addressing, if they not what I was trying to do. Sorry, if they put in the name. So papa, accent on the A, the second A, right? Puedo salir. So if we state it just like a sentence and we put question marks around it, right? With my friends, con mis amigos, or amigas, right? When after school, how do we say after school? How do we say after? Or how do we say this afternoon? Esta tarde. Okay. Right? Esta tarde. And I mean, I don't think it's necessary for you to say después de la escuela, but you could if you want. And then we have to promise to do something. So what are we going to promise to do? In English, what are we going to promise to do? Any chore you could say in English is appropriate here. You will study more, you will wash the car, you will wash the dishes, you will not ask for anything ever again in life. That might be complicated to say. What will you do? All right, we will lavar los platos. So, y. All right, now if you know the future tense, you could say the future tense. But if you don't know the future tense, we use the informal future, which is the ir plus the verb, right? But we just learned future tense, so we will use future tense. So lavaré los platos cuando or tonight, so esta noche, or después de la cena. Right? Okay, what accents are missing? Oh, conveniently, here's an E with an accent. That's going to solve a lot of our problems. Everybody can see this font okay, right? Okay, the A should have an accent, right? The first A, not the first A, the second A in papa. Okay, let's make this bigger. Right? Now we have to remember because CSEC is looking for one sentence, you put in an E. the and, right? So we join it together. Remember that you also have an option of a semicolon to join sentences to the same sentence if E wouldn't fit normally, right? All right, now let's go over a couple more ways to ask permission. Right, so asking permission. Puedo, so one way, puedo plus the infinitive. Right, so in this case, it was puedo salir. So this is can I, right? And I forgot to put in my question marks, guys. So you put in the question marks, right? Oh, sorry, it will go here, right? Because here's where the question starts. All right. Would I be able to? You could use conditional tense. So podría plus the infinitive. So this is could I, right? Most basic is puedo. Will you let me? So this is a third way. Me dejas. Okay, I've left out my question marks from these. So let's make sure we put them in, right? Because you're asking, we're not telling. All right, so me dejas is may I permit you permit me, you allow me, right? Literally from dejar to allow or to let something happen. All right, so me dejas plus the infinitive. Permit me, would you permit me? Me permites. Right, this is also may I. From permitir to permit. Okay, now here we have to ask permission. Clearly we have to have a grammatical expression that asks permission, right? But sometimes you, if that is not so specific, you could just say, I would like to me gustaría salir con mis amigos whenever, right? All right, now let's talk about promising. How do we promise something in Spanish? We just use the future tense. We didn't use the conditional tense, right? Because if you use the conditional tense, it's not as definite that it will happen. Now we're always being careful not to create a sentence where we need the subjunctive. But promise is not one of the troublesome ones that will do that because the whole thing is within your power. All right. So if we have the verb prometer to promise, right? I promise is prometo. I promise you is te prometo, right? And then I will wash the dishes is I promise you that I will wash the dishes, que, but I will wash the dishes. It's going to happen. It's in my control. It's not subjunctive. It's just future tense, right? Lavaré los platos. Después de la cena, right? Okay, so it's future tense after what I promised, right? Okay, a few other ways you could say I promise. I plan to using one that you're most comfortable with, but if you see it, you will know it. Te juro que. So this is I swear that, right? I give you my word. Te doy mi palabra. Que again, and then whatever, right? Asegurar. So you would conjugate, you would say aseguro, te aseguro, I assure you that. And again, que, right? I guarantee you is garantiza, so te garantiza, te garantizo que, as well as another one, right? All right, so I'm pausing here for a minute. Right, so we've gone over ways to ask permission, and we've gone over ways to make promises, right? All right, so let's go to the next thing. Next situation. You arrive at the hairdresser for an appointment, but no one is there. Write the note that you see on the front door saying where he or she went and when he or she will return. Now, I had trouble coming up with an English answer to this because when are you going to leave and go? So, what do you think is a reasonable thing for a hairdresser to leave and go do? Because I get the feeling that the appointment is not canceled. They just went somewhere for a few minutes. So, what do you think you would say in English if you were right? If you were the hairdresser and you're leaving this sign on the door, what do you think you would say? Where you think the hairdresser went? To get supplies, to get extra shampoo, to get lunch. Okay, let's choose something we know. Again, let's choose something we know how to say. All right. So tell me, the easiest one might be lunch, or you could say she went to buy a drink across the road. Um, Faulty electricity. Okay, so clearly this place is in the Caribbean. That is reasonable, I guess. But when will she return? Tomorrow? Okay. Tell me, so almorzar is to have lunch, right? So how do we say I went to have lunch or I'm having lunch? Or I went to buy lunch. To me, I went to buy lunch or I went to buy a drink is more authentic. So I went, fui a comprar food, comida, o un bocadillo o un sándwich. Y when will he or she return? What's the verb for to return? What's to return in Spanish? Volver. Okay, volver. Yes. Regresar would be if she was returning home. So we'll go with volver, right? All right. So how do we put volver in the future tense? Volvere. Great. And then you just have to decide on when she's going to return. So one suggestion is that she might return in 5 minutes. Volvere. I'm saying she, but it could also be he, right? In 5 minutos. Sure, no problem. Okay. Now, just want to see with that. Like, I mean, if she could return in 5 minutes, but I mean, 5 minutes from when? So you could also say, I think this is okay. Like, I think this will get you the mark, but you could also say volveré at a time. A las 11 menos cuarto or something. Okay, everybody is okay with that? I don't think it's too much difficult grammar structure here. It's just to think of the verbs, what verbs to use, right? What vocabulary to use. Okay, half a minute. This was an easy one. Okay, so what celebrity do you think you would write your friend about? I guess it doesn't 100% matter. The examiner won't expect to know the celebrity by name necessarily. But we should put in a name, right? So what celebrity do you all want to use? Don't make me pick somebody, because I will. I have to choose. All right, I'm just gonna pick Cass. And then what you could do, because you know, you could put any name here. You could put Jaime, you could put Anna, you could put Enrique, right? Enrique Iglesias, if you want a Spanish name. You could put Taylor Swift, yes. Taylor Swift might be more recognizable, right? But what I was gonna suggest is we could put what they are. So we could say el cantante famoso. Or que es el cantante, right? So the singer. Or if it were an actor, you would say el actor, la actriz, right? All right. And where are they? They are in the mall. So how do you say he or she is in the mall, what verb do you use? This is probably like the first or second lesson you learned in Spanish. Which verb for is? Estar, right? So he is in the mall, she is in the mall. Está en el centro comercial ahora, now, right? There's always that we know. E, okay, what how do we convey that there's a crowd? What's the word for crowd? If we can't think of the word for crowd, how will we put across the idea anyway that there's a crowd? My favorite Spanish word could be used here, IHAY. There is or there are, right? So in this case, there is. Okay, yeah, you might be able to say el público. I was thinking even simpler than that. You just say there's a lot of people, hay mucha gente. So you could have said mucha gente. You could have said tantas personas, right? So many people, right? But we're gonna say hay un multitud de personas. You could also say like thousands of people. Okay, what do you think they are doing? Y todos, todas, because it's personas. Taking pictures. Oh yes, I didn't even think of that. They would be taking pictures. I was thinking more along the lines of shouting, but this makes more sense. All right, so todas están tomar el foto, right? So todas están, they are, because we're doing it right now. So we can put it in present continuous tense. Or you could just put it in simple present tense, right? Están tomando fotos, right? Or if you use simple present tense, it would be toman, they take. Yeah, okay, so if they were shouting, it would be gritan. Gritan y toman fotos. Right? Or están gritando. They are shouting right now. Anything else anybody wants to know how to say? You could ask, right? This is a good example that not everything in the situation you need to respond to, right? Like this, you don't have to translate this about the community center having a concert. We just need to say cost of tickets and how you can get them, how they can be obtained, right? You could probably say tickets for the concert, but you don't need to explain community center. All right, so how much do they cost? Can you tell me that they cost $100? And can you tell me where I can get them? All right, so tickets, entradas. Or if you want to make it one ticket, so we don't have to deal with each, we could just make it, yeah, I think it's tickets. We had to say tickets in general. Para el concierto. Or you could probably also say del concierto, right? We cannot say por. Right. So they cost from costar to cost, which is stem change in UE, right? Cuestan $100. So this is what I'm checking to just make sure we remember that because the noun is masculine. This is just cien and not ciento or cientos, right? All right, where can we buy them? Where are they sold? We know we have any Spanish stores in Trinidad still. The last one was Puerto Tropical and I was going. All right, so we have a couple options here, right? One option is se venden in what's the name of a place, guys? In el supermercado. The supermarket has tickets. Right? You could say they extra foods or they low cost or wherever you want to put your supermarket, right? That's one option. Another option is the post office. Interesting choice. I was really trying to think of just a name of a restaurant or a name of a business that we could okay, la oficina de correos. Okay. All right. Se pueden comprar las because it's las entradas, right? Uh I'm gonna put a church name, a la iglesia de San Miguel at St. Michael's Church, right? All right, now look at what how we've translated it. So say plus the third person of the verb. So the pronoun say plus third person, right? In this case is venden with a D because it's entradas plural, right? But if it was one ticket, la entrada, se vende. Right, so say plus the third person will give you passive voice. What is passive voice? When the doer of the action comes after the action. So you don't say the supermarket sells the tickets. We say the tickets are sold in the supermarket. By whom? We don't know. They're just sold in the supermarket or they're sold by the supermarket, right? So this is sold in, right? And then here we have one can buy them, right? So the say again conveys the idea of one. Still a random third person, nobody in particular. So one can buy them in at St. Michael's Church, right? So say plus the third person form of the verb to give the idea of passive voice, but also to give the idea of a person doing something, like the English pronoun one that's not attached to anybody in particular. If you have a question, let me know, right? Yes, you could say at the community center itself, al centro de la comunidad. You could say that. You could say se venden las entradas al centro de la comunidad. Write a text messages your teacher sends to your parents giving 2 reasons why he or she is concerned. All right, how are we going to say I'm concerned about your behavior or her behavior? Really, this concern means worry, right? So what do we have to use here? What is the word for worry? You know the verb preocupar, right? I know y'all know this. So estoy preocupado or preocupada. This will depend on your gender, right? Well, on the gender teacher, right? Okay, now it's to your parents. So when she say your little sister, she wouldn't say your little sister behavior. What would she say? You could say because of a causa de behavior is comportamiento, very close to an English word comportment, which also means behavior. Okay? De tu hija, because it's to your parents. How do you say your younger daughter? Because it's little sister's behavior. So you have to get younger daughter from that. All right, so menor for younger, and mayor for older, right? All right, so de tu hija menor, porque, why? What is she always doing? Easy things, easy things that you know how to say. So what misbehavior could children have in class? She could never do homework. She could talk all the time in class. She could sleep in class. She could be late to school. She could cry a lot. Things we know how to say, right? So she's not focusing could be a true and a nice thing to say, but can we say it in Spanish? I mean, probably because you could use concentrate. So she's not concentrating in class. All right. So she talks. How do you say she talks a lot? Something easy. She talks a lot. Ella habla mucho. Um, in my class, right? And there are different ways to say it. Ella habla por toda la clase. She talks for the whole class. Ella habla sin parar. She talks without stopping. She talks too much. Ella habla demasiado. Right? There are different ways to get the idea across, right? What else? Okay, so no concentra. There are better verbs we could use, but let's think about that. Or what else would you all say is a problem? She's always late, that's easy to say. No se concentra, right? So siempre llega tarde, right? Is another reason. And you could also say Instead of estoy preocupado or estoy preocupada, we could conjugate preocupar. And you could say, me preocupes or preocupe. Preocupe. Su hija. Right? And I'm looking back here. I think I need to change this to su because it went to the two parents, right? All right. Anything else anybody wants to be able to say? She talks a lot during class. She's not doing her homework. Okay, so what is to do your homework? Hacer la tarea. So you could just say no hace sus deberes, so no hace la tarea. Nunca, never hace sus deberes. Right? You could also say no estudia. She doesn't study. So you want to say she doesn't do her homework, but you find that it's getting complicated. So you know the verb estudiar. You could say no estudia. She doesn't study, right? Right. So nunca hace sus deberes, nunca hace la tarea. All right. Any questions? Everything is clear. Everything everybody has said we have given a Spanish version for. Right? I really want you all to think about the different ways you know how to convey an idea in English and then use that to help you find words you already know in Spanish. Right? There are many different ways to answer each of the situations. Don't let yourself get stuck in one way where you're not sure what the word should be or what the vocabulary word is. Most of the time, you could figure out a different way to say it. Right? Okay, enough of that. Y'all are ready to take a break? So let's take 5 minutes, right? We're picking things that we know how to say, right? The word for, okay, good. So the first one, the word for streets is calle. Right? Right, these signs, so close off for traffic, explaining the closure. Explaining the closure doesn't necessarily mean why it's closed there. It just means to say that it's closed. All right, what is the word for to close in Spanish? Cerrar, very good. So, if the verb is cerrar, the infinitive is cerrar, what is the past participle? Because that is the adjective. So closed, for example, is the past participle of to close, and it describes the road, so it's the adjective. So tell me how you say closed. How we get the past participle? You have the verb cuidar, and from that you get cuidado, because we took off the AR and we added ADO. So we take off the AR and we add ADO. So we get cerrado. Now, is calle masculine or feminine? Calle, la calle, right? So this has to be cerrada. Right? Road closed. Another thing you could just say is no acceso. right? No access, no entry. This one is no entry. And this one is road closed. All right. What are repairs in Spanish? Do you have to say it is closed? Well, think about it, right? If you see a road sign on the road, so first thing, if you see a road sign on the road, does it tell you there is a school ahead, or does it just say school ahead? Does it say take a left turn, or does it just say left turn? These road signs don't give you a full grammatical sentence, nor do you need to write a full grammatical sentence for situations sometimes, right? It says that in the instructions that a lot of times you don't need a full sentence and don't write more than a full sentence. So, calle cerrada is fine, right? No acceso is fine. Okay, now, tell me about what is the Spanish word for repairs? Reparaciones. So can you say street closed for repairs in Spanish? Now you might have to think about whether it's por or para. This time it will be por reparaciones. So we have given a reason. Right? Okay, good. Now we have to tell motorists what to do. So what we're gonna tell them? What would you tell them in English? Okay, use another. All right, great. So we'd be talking to strangers with a sign. So we would probably use the usted and ustedes form of the command if we tell them use another, right? Which is the subjunctive ending, is the opposite, is the not the AR or ER or IR ending, it would be the other verb endings, right? So if I'm confusing you, don't worry. I'll show you an easier way to say it just now, right? So if I had the verb, if I wanted to tell them take another street, I would say tomar, to take, right? Tomen otra calle, right? All right, now I just told you CSEC doesn't want more than one sentence. So I'm gonna make this into a semicolon and this into a common T, right? Right. Now, remember I keep telling you all about my favorite word in Spanish. What's my favorite word? I, which means there is or there are, right. And now it's going to give us an option if we don't want to use a command because we can't remember how to conjugate it and we're in exam and we're in a hurry and we're scared and whatever, right? I que tomar otra calle, right? I will make this a common H, right? So the expression I que, it means it's necessary that. And you don't have to use subjunctive for it because you're using an infinitive after it, right? Right? So hay que tomar otra calle. Or you could also say, we remember we used can earlier. Se puede tomar otra calle. Everybody okay with these? So we figured out road closed together. We put our reason for reparaciones, even though that might not be 100% necessary. But for the sake of our being confident that we answered everything, and we said take another street, right? And also I gave you how you would say no entry, no acceso. right? All right, any questions, any concerns, anybody worried about anything? Anyone arrives at your home with a package, but no one is there. Write the note that he leaves in your mailbox, informing your family of when and where the package can be collected. So do we need to say this part that I was here, but you were not? Is that necessary? I don't think so, right? All right. So what is he going to say? In English, what will he say? Anybody ever had this happen? FedEx or DHL or maybe even the post office? They came to drop something, you went there, they left you a paper that says, okay, so they would leave you a little piece of paper and it would say you could collect it and it would say where and it would say give you some times, right? All right, so you can, I'm going to use usted, right? Puede, but if you said puedes, that would be okay. To collect, now if you can't think of the word for collect, can you think of the word for receive? So you could say recibir, right? But recoger is what we will use. The package, the packet, el paquete. All right, so we can collect the package where, boy? The post office. Yes. In la oficina de correos, but also if you just said in correos, that would be okay too, right? All right, so de la oficina de correos. And if you gave a street, that would be okay. But we don't have to, so I'm not going to put it right now. But if you said like la oficina de correos de Santa Ana, the post office on Santa Ana Street, de la calle Santa Ana, that would be okay, right? When? So we need to say like days. What days can you go, you think? For how do you say from Monday to Friday? De lunes a viernes, right? Very simple. Right? And then we need a time. So de las 8 de la mañana, which is like saying AM, right? 8 in the morning. Right? And then an afternoon time, a las 4 de la tarde. There's a mosquito, one mosquito in here. Any other version of this anybody wants us to work on? Another way you want to answer it? Please say if that is the case, right? Okay, we just have 2 more to get through. And then, nope, my bad, 3 more. All right, your cousin is planning a summer trip and is trying to encourage you to go with him or her. Write the message that he or she sends you, inviting you to go with him or her and saying how you will benefit from the trip. All right, how do we invite someone to go on a trip with us? Or how do we say to them, why not go on a trip with me? Where do you think your cousin going? Te invito. Very good. All right. So what do I invite you to do? To travel. Ah, where we gonna go? What is to travel? Viajar. with me is conmigo, right? Where are we going? Pick a Spanish speaking country, and then we could say that you will practice Spanish. Okay, I'm Mexico. Miami. Funny. Okay, yes, you could say Miami, but what would the benefit be? Because it says a benefit, right? So I'm Mexico. I was gonna say Costa Rica because that's my new obsession. Um, and why para practicar your Spanish, su español. What's the benefit of traveling to Miami? Para ir de compras. Is that obviously a benefit? Is that clearly a benefit if you go shopping in Miami? You could visit a university para visitar a una universidad. To relax, right? So you could say also, what are the benefits? Para relajarte. Yes, you could learn about the education. Okay, so para um probar la comida, to try their food. To learn about their culture, you could say para aprender sobre su cultura, right? Cultura. Okay. All right, number 9, you want your sister's opinion on an activity that you can do with your best friend for her birthday. Write the text message she sends you recommending an activity with a reason. All right, what do you think she would say? I'm going to use my standard por qué no van al restaurante de Mario's. Porque la comida, la pizza está o es muy sabrosa, right? Other answers? So when I go to Mario's, it is delicious, right? Can we use tu español? This is for number 8. Number 8 you're asking about, right? Yes, because it's your cousin. So it's familiar. Earlier, it was a teacher to parents. So it had to be a little more formal. But if you had said tus, I think it would be okay. I don't think they would take off a mark. Okay, I take it back. They could take off a mark. So sus would have been better for teacher to parents, but here it's your cousin and you, so 2. All right, now I started off the answer for 9 with porque no plus the activity, right? But you could also say puedes, you can. whatever, right? And you could also use the verb recomendar, so you would say te recomiendo, but that to me that's kind of clunky. All right, what about the last one, number 10? While on vacation with his friends, your brother encounters a problem. Write the text message. He sends to your parents mentioning problem and how they can help. Was an easy thing to say? The car broke down, yes. Or it could be he lost his wallet, his money, right? So mama, y papa, all right, mi carro no funciona. Doesn't work anymore, right? Más. Y necesito dinero. Por favor. Right? I need money, please. He lost his wallet and all of his money. Yes. How do we say that? Perdí. This is another option, right? Perdí mi billetera. Y necesito this, everything ends in I need money. Dinero. Por favor. Mi teléfono cayó al suelo, fell on the floor. Y romper is the break, so rompiste, rompió. Y necesito dinero para comprar, to buy another one, right? So in order to buy, para comprar, un otro, por favor. Any other calamity y'all want to befall him? Was he eaten by a shark? Did a shark eat his friend? Un tiburón comió a mi amigo. Y necesito dinero para, I need money for something. The funeral. Okay, in response to a suggestion for number 9, you want your sister's opinion on an activity you can do with your best friend for her birthday. Who is it her birthday? Is it her birthday, the best friend's birthday, or her birthday, the sister's birthday? It's not the sister's birthday, it has to be the best friend. Because the sister is suggesting something. So the best friend might not be too anxious to help work for her birthday, like to decorate or to set up a party. Best friend wants to just show up and be treated. Okay, so we finished discussing these situations from January 2024. If you still have remaining questions, something you want translated, we didn't do it, please message, right? Remember that you are not required to write more than a sentence, sometimes not even as much as a full sentence, right? And That is all I have to say. So if you have questions, you could ask them. Other than that, when you're done, you're free to go. Next week, we're going to do the letter for this past paper. So you can take a look at it, download the past paper and take a look at it, right? All right, guys. So once you're done recording your answers, you're free to leave, right? Enjoy the rest of your evening.